Hello and welcome to part 3 of my dream car garage build series. If you haven't seen the other parts so far, part 1 deals with my initial requirements and then part 2 deals with the design. So I'll put a link up here if you want to see those just to catch up. So in this video I'm going to talk about why I've had so many delays and why the garage isn't built yet, considering I did my first video over a year ago. Give you an update on progress, so that's the garden clearance, the costings for the brick garage I wanted to build, an update on planning permission, a little section about building regs here in the UK, the rules you have to follow to build a garage, and an update on the garage foundations. Saying that, before I start, massive thank you to everyone who commented. It's been an enormous help. I've read every single comment, I've replied to as many people as I can. Loads of great ideas there for everything, it's really helped, so thank you so much for that. So on to progress. Why has my progress been so slow? I started this in February 2019. Well, I had a baby and that takes up more time than you could ever imagine. It's been great, but if anyone has kids will know that the amount of time you have kind of decreases to very little. And we decided to convert this room. So this was the original garage the house came with, but we converted it into offices. So that was supposed to come after the garage, but we pushed it forward mainly because of the baby and having a room available and all that kind of stuff. So that took up time. I started working full-time, had a full-time job, and obviously that takes up time. And obviously with COVID-19 now, everything that was supposed to happen has kind of not happened. The world's kind of been on pause, as you know. For instance, my garage base should have started maybe 4 weeks ago, so that's just now on hold. But let's talk about progress, because there has been some progress. If you think back to previous pictures of my garden, I'll put them on the screen now. It's basically where we wanted to put the garage. There was lots of trees in the way, and you can see that basically all the trees and shrubs are gone and it's all kind of mostly cleared, ready for us to start work. On to the quotes for the brick garage. I'm happy to say that I was kind of a bit naive and a bit, silly about it all. A lot of people commented that I would never build a brick garage for £10,000, and you are absolutely correct. Quotes for a brick garage came out at between £40,000 and £50,000. Yeah, expensive. It would have been nice, but yeah, I can't afford that kind of money. So actually, one builder said it was £10,000 just to get out of the ground for the foundations alone. So there you are. But massive thanks to those of you who commented and suggested looking at timber framed garages. Now this would be a kind of pre-fabbed, pre-built garage that gets assembled and then delivered to site, and then it goes up in kind of 1 or 2 days. And I did have a look around, and I have actually found a supplier for a timber frame garage, and without options it starts at about £7,000, so a really kind of good value option there for the garage. And once I insulate it, I think it'll just be as kind of warm as a brick garage, so that suits all my needs really. I will put some updated drawings on the screen now. So those are my architect's drawings. As you can see, it's just basically the same thing really, slightly different dimensions, So this brings me on to planning permission. I already had planning permission granted by the local council, but that was for a brick building. So I had 2 options. I could do a materials change, and that would cost me £400. So £400 again. I've already paid £400 once, I have to pay it again. But then I could say, I'm just changing it from brick to wood, and I'm changing the roof from this to that and that to that. The reason it's £400 is that it's a safety net, so the brick building I'd already had approved, that was safe. And if I did a material change and that was rejected, I'd still be able to go back to my brick garage. There is a free option though, which is to resubmit plans, full plans, and that's a free option, and that's what I did. But the risk is that if they say no to this new timber frame garage, you've lost that permission for the brick garage. I was pretty confident they're probably going to approve a timber garage, considering that a brick garage is more permanent anyway. So after another 9-week wait, it was finally approved, which is all great. So now I have planning permission to build my timber frame garage. which brings us on to building regulations. Now, this is the other thing you have to bear in mind if you're building a huge kind of thing in the back of your garden. If you want to build a outbuilding which is under 30 square meters in size, then you don't have to worry about this next bit. That would be a garage about 6 by 5 meters, but the garage I want to build is 6 by 7 meters. Mainly because when I sketched it all out, it was just a bit tight. You could fit a car in there, you could fit a lift in there, but there was no room for a workbench or other storage. And considering I only want to do this once and I want it to last for many, many years, I thought, let's just, do it properly, So, there are certain requirements here in the UK if you want to build a building over 30 square meters. So, you have to deal with the rainwater. It's fairly easy, just dig a big hole, tunnel all the water to it, called a soak away, easy peasy, small cost, £200-300, not a big deal. So I'm building the garage 60 centimetres away from the neighbour's boundary, so less than a metre. So I have to fireproof the outside wood, but that's easy to do, just buy kind of a fireproof paint, and I have to fireproof the inside of the garage. So I did want to put plywood on the inside walls of the garage because it's kind of sturdy, you can nail into it, you can hang things from it, it's very solid. Building regulations didn't really like that idea, they thought it was too combustible. What they've asked for is plasterboard. Okay, so plasterboard isn't as kind of solid if you want to hang things from it. The compromise is that I would just have to find one of the upright pieces of wood and nail into that. And it's not the end of the world, I'm not really planning to hang too much on the walls anyway. Plasterboard is much cheaper than ply, so that's a win, although actually getting it skimmed afterwards kind of makes it about the same price, so there you go. Now the foundations, building regulations, very, very keen on this point. Bit of a cost here for me, so I had to dig a hole 1 metre deep in my garden, which is back-breaking and took me about 2 hours. Not used to digging. And I had to get a soil sample. I had to send it off to the lab to get tested. That was £70, and that tells you what type of soil you have. Luckily, I have a soil with low plasticity. That's a word for you there, isn't it? Which means basically it's not going to move too much, which is good because that means the foundations are going to be as shallow as you could be. Could be a lot worse. Bad thing about where I am is lots of trees in the surrounding area. There's also some huge trees at the back of my garden, and they have very deep and long roots, which means they could interfere with the foundations of my garage. So I got my structural engineer to draw up some calculations. That was £600, expensive. And basically what that means is that, I'll put a picture on the screen now, it shows you how deep the foundations need to be to comply with building regs. So at the front of the garage, you have to dig down 75 centimetres. But as you get further back, you can see these lines, and they're from these huge trees at the back, and these are where the roots could interfere with the building, causing it to move. So at the back, we're digging down 1.25 metres. Fairly deep, that's quite a lot of soil to be removed. Obviously a bit frustrating, a bit of extra cost. And at that stage I thought, I'll just build a smaller building, sod this, I'll just build a 30 square metre building. But even if I did build a 30 square metre building, would I still want to take this advice and have the foundations this deep? Because, all right, if it was just a garage and it moves a little bit, fair enough. But I'm going to put a car lift in there. And I want to make sure that, obviously, the car lift won't move because that's going to have huge foundations. So if the building moves and the car lift doesn't, is that going to cause a problem? And also, I'd like to do wheel alignments and things like that in the garage if possible. So I really want a base which is completely level and isn't going to move. So yes, the foundations are now going to cost me more than I expected. But again, I'm going to be here 20 odd years, and I just really want it to be right. Maybe these foundations are a bit of overkill, and if anyone has some definitive advice, I'll be all ears. But that's what the calculations come back as, and that's what meets building regs. So that's probably what I'm going to have to do. As briefly mentioned before, we have chosen a driveway contractor, so he'll be cracking on with building the garage base and the driveway to it, just when all this COVID-19 stuff kind of dies down. I've got quotes from my electrician to do electrical work, so that's good. It's about £1,000 or so. Still waiting on quotes for extending the water supply from my house to my garage. Decided not to run hot water. It just gets a bit complicated, gets a bit expensive. I don't really need hot water in the garage. The only reason I'm running water to the garage is for washing the car, and that's about it really, and just a bit of convenience if you want to water plants. I've had to extend the budget, well, no surprises there, so we're now pretty much up to £20,000, which is what a lot of you kind of suggested. And that takes into account everything, so you know, the lift, electrical works, the workbench, the flooring, everything. So I think we're fairly confident that we'll be able to get everything in for that now. Moving on to lifts, I've been looking at quotes for car lifts. 2-post lifts seems to be the kind of general consensus in the comments there. Big thanks for everyone who gave me recommendations for lift brands. I've looked at Strongman lifts, Twin Bush, and Lift Tech so far. Doesn't seem to be too much in them. You're looking at about £1,200 for a manual release, or about £1,450 for an automatic release, and with kind of install and fitting, you're looking at about an extra £500 on top of that, whatever option you go for. I'm leaning towards an auto release, so it's about £250 more, but it's just more convenient, isn't it? And you don't see any manual releases anywhere else, so I guess, yeah, I prefer to go for something a bit more convenient, I think. Any lift manufacturers I've missed out or think I need to investigate, let me know, all ears. And in regards to flooring, I've only really looked at 2 options for flooring. Epoxy, coating it, which seems fairly cheap, but you have to kind of keep it up to date and refresh it every so many years. So there's a kind of maintenance on that. Or you can get kind of automotive tiles. These are locking kind of plastic tiles, which are very quick to fit and should last a long time, but quite expensive, about over £1,000 I've had quotes for my garage. I do like the idea of tiles, but if I'm like cleaning stuff in the car, in the garage, and there's water or there's dust, I just fear that it's going to get in between the cracks and there's going to be pools of water underneath the floor, and I'm not so sure really on that one. I'm kind of probably going to go with an epoxy floor unless you guys can recommend something better for me to investigate. And that's it for this update. I'll have another video about my garage up pretty soon. I'm going to go through the timber frame garage. I took some video last time I was down there. I'll look at all the options I've gone for and the kind of spec, because that's now been ordered. That should arrive here in July, so it's all very exciting now. It's all finally coming together. As usual, anything you want to say in the comments, please let me know. I read all of them. I love hearing what you say. Please do. And as always, thanks for watching.